Hey guys, welcome to my channel. In this video we will make the Messerschmitt KR200. This is a cute little car I've always wanted to model. It's got a lot of challenging curves. I've started this project previously, so I've already made some of the parts, and I set up the scene with image planes. I have some curves set up. So we'll kind of start in the beginning and start creating some of the panels. I'm going to hide the in progress work and show you some of the image planes that I created. So I've set up some image planes. Here I have a chassis layer, and I also have an X-ray layer for the side, front, and top. So let's just hide those for a sec. And I've also created some of the curves that I'm going to use to model this thing. So I always make curves to help model. It's really helpful for me to kind of visualize the 3D object in a simpler 2D way. So we're gonna start by recreating some of these curves. I'll show you my process and how to convert those curves into actual geometry. So let's hide this here. I'm gonna start from the side view, turn on my X-ray layer. And I'm going to make this scene available in the description, so feel free to download and follow along. I'll start here, just using the EP curve tool from the curve shelf. And let me turn on the hotkey viewer. There we go. Click here once, click here one more time, then press W to exit the tool, and you have a curve. You can then right click on the curve, go to control vertex, select these guys here. Your curve is going to be chunky when you first create it. You can press 3 to smooth it, and then just drag the control vertices until the shape looks right. If you can't get the shape right with just the 2 vertices here, you can add more detail to the curve. We're not going to do it yet, but I'll show you how soon. We're going to make another curve. So click here and here, control vertex, drag it up, press 3. And line this up. There. So you can see this is what we have now. So we need to now space it out in the top view. I'm going to line that up to this Fender image here. Now I want to line this up as straight as I can. So to do that, I'm going to use the Lattice tool. So you can find it under the form, Lattice. So if you open the options for the Lattice, the default options here are going to be 2, 5, and 2. We're going to set this to 2, 2, and 2. That just means 2 is the smallest number of lattice divisions because you have the start and beginning. We don't need 5 there. And then the local divisions, that's just the subdivision amount. 30 is the max, so I'm going to set 30 as the max and hit apply. Next time I use the Lattice tool, those settings will be saved. You can see it gives me this box around this curve. If I go to lattice point, I can select these lattice points and move them. Now sometimes this happens where it doesn't let you move in a specific direction. Just double click on the move tool and hit the reset tool. Sometimes some of the hotkeys that you try and press will add some value to some of the attributes in the move tool, and that's gonna keep it from doing what you want it to do. Okay, so now what I can do is I can move the curve this way with just 2 points. Now I can't do it when it's just by the curve itself, because I have 4 points along, so it would be a lot of trying to get this curve to line up perfectly. With a lattice it's much easier. When you select the curve afterwards, press Shift Alt D, and that will clear the history on the curve, which will get rid of the lattice. Now I'm going to move this curve here like that. Now you can see what we have. Now you can do a simple loft here. Select this curve plus this one, go back to curve surfaces and click the loft here, The problem is it's not the shape that we want. So we need to add a couple more curves to make a more complicated shape here. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to hold C. This, when you hold C, this gets highlighted, the snap to curve option. So let's go back to the curve tool. We're going to hold C, left click and drag past the end of the curve, then let go, then hold C again, left click and drag on this side. Press W, that will just change tools, and that will complete the curve creation. And then press Y, that's gonna enable the last tool you used, which is the curve tool. Hold C again, click and drag, W to exit the tool. And then from the top view, we're gonna select on this curve, go select right click, go to control vertex, and then move these around. Now, these blueprints don't line up perfectly, so we have to kind of use them as a guide, but not follow them completely, I think, because we're not going to get exactly what we want that way. So you can see what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to match this curve. It's kind of hard to see because when it's selected, it's white on white, like that. Now also this curves, so I'm going to select both curves and then press F8. That will take me into component mode. You can also press F9 or F10 or F11, that goes through the different component modes. So F9 will go to vertex, and sometimes even when you press F9 you can't see the vertices here, so you can just turn off and turn on the vertex selection here. You can then grab this point, turn the image planes back on, and move them together like this. Then we can move this one over, just kind of line this up like that, and go to this side, select this curve. So this will go here, press 3 to smooth it, and that goes there, like that. There, so that's what we have. So now the next step is to create a bi-rail. A loft uses only 2 curves. A bi-rail uses 3, 4, or more. So let's go to curves, and we want to find, oh, sorry, surfaces. We want to find the bi-rail. We're going to click this. This will take the tool and drop it out, the tool menu. So what we're going to do is we're going to use, because we have 2 profile curves, we're going to use bi-rail 2 tool. Click the little square to open the options, and then here we can set some settings. I'm going to reset the tool, show you the default. This is just the default for creating a nurbs object, which is perfectly fine if you want to go to nurbs, but we want to use this to go directly to polygons. It's the same as creating a nurbs object and then converting it to polygons. It just skips a step. Click polygons here. We do not want triangles, always want quads. And then tessellation, the standard fit is kind of finicky, so I like to use general. And here you can set the U and V parameters. So U and V relates to a 2D, to a plane's 2D directions, U horizontal, V vertical. And so you're telling it, if this is a 2D plane, how to subdivide it. So if it's set to 3D, it means you'll subdivide 3 times in 3D space and 3 times in 3D space for U and V. But you can set it to isoparms, which basically, if you have extra curves, it's going to subdivide in between those curves. 3D means it'll use the whole object. So these settings are fine, and bi-rail could be kind of complicated to use, but you can make it easier on yourself by just, without having anything selected, click apply. Then on the bottom here, it's going to tell you what to do. So if you just pay attention, you can see it says bi-rail 2 tool, select 2 profile curves. So you just drag a selection over one and then the second. Don't hold shift or anything, just select it. Then it's going to say select 2 rail curves. Then you select 2 of the rail curves like this. It's going to make a shape. You can see this is very low res. That is because we selected only 3 subdivisions. But if I go into the inputs here under the tessellate, you can grab the U number, just select it, not the number itself, but the name, and then middle drag. And then you can select the V number and middle drag. So you can see what's happening here. It's giving us a nice shape, but it's not perfect, and the reason is because it's trying to convert this curve into this one. It's having a hard time in the middle here, so we can help it along. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this, delete it. We're going to use the EP curve tool again. I'm going to hold C and just click and drag and go somewhere in the middle here like this. Then hold C and click and drag and drop a curve here. Now from the front view, if we look at our blueprint here, I'm going to select the curve, go to curve point, and try and create this shape the way I like it. So it also is useful to look at a reference here. So what I saw there is that it doesn't go straight up over, it's actually curved like this because it's a, looks like it's a shape that's like this, and then this is cut out of it. So let's see. I think that looks pretty good. Alright, so we're going to do the same thing, but instead of using a bi-rail 2, we're going to use a bi-rail 3. Hit apply. So select any number of profile curves. So we need to select more than 2 profile curves that we have here, which is 3. So I'm going to click here, select that, select this, select this. You have to do it in order, and then hit enter. Then you can select 2 of the rail curves, and you can see it's going to make a shape here like this. And here I'm going to drag this and drag this. So now what's happening is that we're going from this curve to this one and then down to this one. You can see the shape looks much better, exactly what we want. And then you can give the number of divisions you like to make it nice and smooth. Now because we have a rail curve here, it adds a curve right where we have the rail curve. We don't need that, so we'll get rid of it afterwards. But I'm pretty happy with the shape here, so I'm going to select it, hold Shift Alt D, and delete it like that. You can then select this edge loop in the middle here, hold Control and hit delete. Let's go and delete it, and there you go. Turn the wireframe off, and we can hide the curves. Control H. You can see the shape of the Fender. So I turned off two-sided lighting, and you can see that the Fender is reversed. That's perfectly fine. Just click on the poly modeling, and let's see. Oh, actually I added this button here, but if you go to mesh display, there's a reverse option here. When you click it, it's going to invert the normals, so now the geometry faces the right way. Anything you want to add to your polygon shelf or any shelf, you just go to the thing you want to add. So if let's say you want to add some of these tools to your shelf, go to mesh display, hold Control Shift, and then click on the button you want to add. It's going to add it there, and then you can just middle click and drag and drop it where you want. If you want to delete it, right click and hit delete. So you can customize your shelf this way. So I just went through and customized mine. Alright. That looks pretty good. Clear history on that. And so this is basically the way you create the shapes. And I'm going to show you some of the other ones that I've made. Oh, it's a pretty good match. It's a little different over there, but it's not bad. Okay, so I'm going to delete that because I already have one made. Now I'm going to show you a slightly more complicated thing, and this one involves cutting the curve. The problem here is that you can't use a bi-rail to make a shape with a curve that's not connected, right? Because this curve is not connected to this one. It goes along, but see, it just goes past it. So there's a couple things we need to do here. We need to first cut this curve, this one, where this one meets it, and then we need to make sure they're snapped to the same location. So the way you do this is, I like to go in from like one of the orthographic views, and I zoom in pretty close. You can see it's not even touching, and you right click and click on curve point, and if you left click and drag, you can see you're dragging a point. So I'm going to drop it in the direction where this curve should penetrate, which is here, like that. Then you can go to curves menu and hit detach. That's going to split them in two. Now the issue here is when you do this, then your previous work on the loft will not work unless you've already done it, because once this curve is split, you can't do a bi-rail with to make the fender. So you have to duplicate the curve, and then I'm going to hide this one so I don't actually split it by accident, and click on curve point, zoom in real close, drag like this, curve, and detach. So now I have three curves here basically. I have this one, the original one, and then these two split ones. And I need all of them. And this is what I did here. But I got rid of this the full curve by accident, and that's bad, so that's fine. But now that they're split, we need to select this guy, right click, go to control vertex, and snap it there. Bi-rails do not work unless you're snapped all the way. Alright, so now I need to hide the extra curves, except this one, because if you don't do that, you won't be able to connect the bi-rail. Or you won't be able to select this curve by itself, so the bi-rail will break. So now we can go into surfaces, open up the options for bi-rail 2, hit apply. It's going to ask for two curves and then two more. And there you go. Tessellation. You can see now we have this panel. Looks pretty good. So the next thing we're going to do is going to make this panel here. So I'm going to do a little trick here basically. I'm going to hide this curve because I just need this section here. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to cut here. Curves, detach, then take this guy and hold V and snap it like that. Then I'm going to duplicate this curve out like that, and I'm going to control right click and I'm going to snap it here like that. Seems kind of weird, but it's going to work really well. I'm going to hide this one. You need to hide the geometry that you've made before, because it actually will when you use bi-rail, you can also select polygon edges. So if the geometry is showing, you can actually select the polygon edge instead of a curve. Bi-rail 2, look here, there, then here and here. It's going to make this shape for us here. Add divisions. I'm going to unhide the previous one. You can turn the wireframe. You can try and match the number of divisions. It doesn't really matter because these panels are not connected in the real car, so they don't have to actually be connected here as well. Okay, clear history. See, the shape looks pretty good. And this line is what the actual car has. It has this little sharp line there. Now we need to, I'm going to unhide the previous curves, and I'm going to use this to make the shape follow these curves. So I'm going to select this vertex here and just hold V, middle drag, and snap it there. Now for this, in the middle here, we're going to use C and middle drag and just try and line up like this. You can make it easier by hiding this curve. Let's see. Alright, that's good enough. You can, if you want, you can also kind of do this. So I'm just holding C and using the middle mouse button to snap and drag. And there we go. So that's the process that I use to create these larger panels. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how I made the hood here. This was one of the more difficult ones, the front here and also the back, because it involved combining a few shapes and then trying to smooth them together. So that one was a bit difficult. So this shape, because you have your bi-rail for the main surface, then you have these headlight cones that have to be smooth as well. And then the rear was also similar and equally challenging. But I'll show you the process, and we can see the curves that I used to do it. We'll go through and do that. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stick around for more on this car. Hit the like and subscribe button, and please leave a comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.